Welcome back, Cuthbert Cooks. In the night time tonight, it's pretty late. The iftar's just gone at 7 o'clock tonight over here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and so we're going to prepare dinner. So we did our braising the other day. The other night I was talking about braising these cheeks. Here they are. Got a couple of the cheeks here. Got the lovely braising liquid. And then what I thought we'd also do is for our friend over in Italy, Domenico Damaghi, who is one of the continental directors of the World Association of Chef Societies, I thought we'd do a little soft polenta with some Gorgonzola cheese. So I've got a lovely Molino Martini, Domenico, yeah? A nice polenta that we're going to make a soft polenta with, and then we're going to flavour it up with a lovely Gorgonzola cheese, and we're going to serve that with our braised cheeks. So I've had these in the fridge. I've got the stock here, and you can see the stock, or the jus is completely gelatinous, which is fantastic. So I'm going to reheat the cheeks into a small pan. I'm just going to pop them in straight away in like that. I'm going to put in the jus on top, and then I'm going to cover them and just let them simmer away for a while, because the polenta will take us about 30 minutes or 40 minutes to cook. So what we're going to do is just cover these with some of the cooking jus that we've got for the braising. That'll just let them reheat gently, so we get a nice hot internal temperature. The sauce will start to reduce down a bit again as well, giving a bit more flavour. So we just crank up the stove. There we go. Going to keep an eye on that. We're going to move it around a little bit, and then pop a lid on, and then we'll go back to that one when it's a little bit later on, to make sure they're nice and hot inside. So for the polenta, very easy dish. There's all sorts of polenta dishes that you can make, and you know, there's nice hard polenta that you let set and then you cut it and pan fry it. But I like a little bit of soft polenta myself. So what we do, we've got 1 litre of water, which we've had brought to the boil, and then we've got about 200 grams of polenta. So what we'll do first, we've got that nicely boiling, the water. We're going to take it off, wooden spatula, and then we're just going to rain in, salted the water, and then we're just going to rain in the polenta, stirring it all the time. We don't want any lumps, yeah? So just be gentle with this one. Don't rush it. Just rain that in gently into the water while it's off the stove. Keep stirring all the time. Then we're going to return him to the stove. Again, stirring all the time to make sure that we don't cause lumps and we don't burn him. Yeah. And then we're going to see how he cooks out. We want it soft. We don't want it runny. Yeah. Because what we want to be able to do is then chop up that beautiful Gorgonzola, pop that through at the last minute, so you get that beautiful flavour from the Gorgonzola into the soft polenta. So that's mixed up really nicely. So we can put that back on the stage. It's nice and soupy, yeah, as you can see. It's got no lumps in it. And now we're going to pop this back on the stove, about 30 minutes. I'm going to monitor and see how thick it gets, because then what we want to do also is maybe water it down a little bit. You can add some chicken stock to it if you like, or you can do a little veal stock, beef stock, instead of just plain water. But I've just used water for the moment because we've got a really nice jus that we're going to have with the beef cheeks. So we don't want to make it too we don't want to have the polenta too strong of a flavour, so we just want to have that as the accompaniment, and then the beef cheeks. So we're going to drop that down, and I'm just going to stand here and stir this around for a while. The apple pie went good the other day, thanks Alana. I hope you checked it out on YouTube. Maybe not as good as yours, but it was yummy anyway. I didn't get around to making the sauce on glaze, unfortunately. The beef Wellington, that went down a treat. Cameraman Cody had about 3 portions of that one. So I'm already seeing that this polenta is getting a little bit too thick for how I want it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more cold water, yeah, just to keep the consistency. But we've got to cook the cornmeal out. You know, we want to make sure it's cooked out completely. Then I just drop down the temperature. Just going to let it simmer along, and we'll keep it we'll keep stirring it so we don't get any lumps in it. Make sure it doesn't burn. We can season him up later. I did put a little bit of salt in the water, but now I'm just going to continue to stir the polenta, bring that back to the boil. Just a very, not a big boil, just a nice nice simmer, just to keep it cooking. Yeah, so the beef Wellington and the apple pie done. We've got the braised cheeks, so the jus started to melt down as well now. So we just get our spoon, give those little turn around. We're gonna turn those over every now and again just to make sure that they get nicely coated in the jus and make sure that they get hot as well. And we're gonna leave those on the stove covered. Go back to our polenta. So the Gorgonzola, beautiful Italian cheese. I love cheese. Cheese is one of my favorite ingredients. It's one of my favorite foods to eat. There's just so many varieties. Unfortunately, France is the best place and Italy comes a close second, but that'll upset the Swiss and the Germans. But there's such varieties of cheese, even as you go up into the UK and into the small farmhouse dairies still making unpasteurized milk cheeses, making their own versions of cheeses. And that's what the beautiful thing about cheese is, that it's a food that's always alive. You know, you look at the Gorgonzola and you've got the blue veins running through it, or the mold running through it, giving it that beautiful flavor, that pungent flavor of Gorgonzola, of a good blue cheese. But it's also nice and creamy, quite a high fat content in it. And of course, best Gorgonzola is made in Italy. So when you do cook, young cooks, try and use authentic and try to use the best that you can buy. Yeah, so we're making Italian food, so let's use Italian polenta and Italian cheese. You know, as they say, bug and cheese in perfect harmony. I mean, have a look at the veins. You know, it's really nicely done. It's not too heavy. It's going to be a lovely accompaniment to the cheeks. What's going to be nice about cheese, when you learn about cheese, you learn about the different types, the different shapes, the sizes, you know. You learn about the origins of cheese, and you also learn about what cheese has to look like, you know. Certain cheeses are made in France under appellation d'origine, so it has to be there. Roquefort has to come from Roquefort, yeah. So there's a certain criterion guideline that cheese has to be made to. Blue cheeses that are matured, you know, they used to mature them naturally and on wooden slats and down in caves. They still do that for Roquefort. But then other modern technologies have come along for the impregnation of the penicillin or the blue that turns the cheese blue. And you can see here, I'm not too sure if you can see this line. There's a line here, a very straight line of the vein, and then there's a little hole over here on the top, and you can't see them very well, but there's little holes on the side of the cheese as well. This is where the cheesemakers now use copper wires to actually impregnate the cheese to start off the molding process, or the maturing process. So they inject the cheese with a multi-spiked machine that goes tuck tuck, has the penicillin or the mold on the needles as it injects the cheese, and then the cheeses are put to mature, and that's how they get the cheeses working, and how they get the cheeses to develop at the beginning. I mean, I could talk for hours about cheese, but we've only got one type. I'd love to maybe do a session on some cheeses, because cheese, you know, there's cheeses from all over the world. I mean, down where we're from in Australia, we've got fantastic dairies doing beautiful cheeses. Down on King Island, down off the southern coast of Australia, we have some extraordinary cheeses coming out of the King Island. But it all goes back to Europe. It all goes back to the origins of cheese making, and you really got to keep yourself true to the craft. And you know, hats off to cheesemakers. You know, it's just wonderful to watch them at work. If you've ever seen someone making a fresh mozzarella, or a fresh bocconcini, or a nice fresh burrata, it really is a skill. I'll just get me strap harnesses on so I don't burn my hands. Just going to give the oh, they smell great. Just going to turn them around. Going to drop that down to a nice simmer now. We're getting our polenta nicely thickened up as well. I just want to make sure that that stays a little bit more thin as it cooks out, so I'll add just another touch of water to it. And I think that should do it, and I'm just going to let that sit now for another 20 odd minutes and get that cooked perfectly, ready to add our beautiful Gorgonzola cheese in. So cheese, one of my favourites, love eating it, as you can see, yeah. You know, people say, oh, what you should drink with when you eat cheese. Well, you should drink a good grape. A good grape always goes well with cheese, but if you don't drink, yeah, the best thing is just to take a little water, because if you drink anything else with cheese, you can't appreciate it. It upsets the palate, it upsets the stomach. So if you don't drink grape, best thing to do is not to drink anything with cheese, and just enjoy the cheese for what it is, with a beautiful sourdough bread, little bit of sweetness on the side, a quince chutney, a little quince paste, or some fig jam, little something to sweeten the cheese a bit just in between. And then when you eat cheese, you know which cheese you should eat before, which cheese you eat first, which cheese you eat last, yeah, and how to actually look after cheese as well. So we'll maybe touch on that on one of the episodes later on. So our polenta is cooking nicely now, and I'm just going to get the Gorgonzola ready. Now, people also say about cheese, should you eat the rind? Some people say, oh, the rind's the best part. But on certain cheeses, you can eat the rind. The soft, the white bloom cheeses like a camembert or a brie. Some of the cheeses that have a white bloom, these are edible, yeah. But like a Gorgonzola is a washed rind cheese, because I do wash them, yeah. And I'm going to remove just the ever slight side of the cheese, because it can give an unpleasant flavour sometimes as well from the rind. But the majority of cheeses, you should remove the rind before you eat them, because the rind is there to protect the cheese. The rind, as it matures, it's where a lot of the flavour actually comes into the cheese from, but it's also been exposed to the air, and also it can give some bad characteristics when you eat it. So it's always best to actually take the rind off certain cheeses and then eat the inside of the cheese, because that's where some of the flavours come from. Most of the flavours come from the rind as well. So it's just a little thing, you know. The rind, yes, on some you cannot, yeah. I mean, some cheeses that are matured, like, you know, your cheddars or your big old wheels of Parmesan, 18, 24, 36 months, you know, you don't want to be chewing through the skin of that. So we just got our polenta nicely going there. Have a little look at our cheeks. Oh, they're looking great. So we're just going to put a little bit of, just make sure that we keep them turning. Make sure we bring them back slowly. We don't want to boil them. We just want to reheat them inside the jus. And then as our polenta continues to cook, it's changing now to a nice creamy consistency. It's actually looking a little bit different to what the yellowy soup that we started off with. And keep stirring all the time. Just make sure that it doesn't stick, and it's going to be beautifully smooth. So we just keep stirring our polenta. I'll just bring him off at the moment because he's nearly there, just to show you. So you can see the consistency as we stir him round. So it's dropping consistency, yeah. So it's going to be nice and firm. When we add we're going to add the Gorgonzola cheese, and then we're going to add olive oil, and I'm going to put butter in, just for good measure, yeah. Then we're going to take that slowly back to the stove, but I just want to make sure that that's cooked through. What are we going to serve? What else are we going to serve with our cheeks? I've got some cannellini beans, and then I'm just going to heat them up in a little bit of the braising jus that we have. Have another little look at our cheeks are nicely coming along as well. So Just keep them turning in the pot just to make sure that we get those nice and hot. The sauce is reducing down nicely in there as well, so we'll be able to use the sauce straight out of the pan. So I've got our little jus in a frying pan here. Just brought it up to the boil. Going to let it sit for a bit. Not to forget about the polenta. Make sure we keep stirring it. We don't want to burn it at the last minute. So we just keep scraping the bottom there and making sure we turn it around. It's come up to a really nice texture. Looks great. I'm going to have a little taste. Just to see how we go there. Yeah, great. I added a little bit of salt when we were boiling it away, and then I'll just finish off the seasoning once we've got all the ingredients in. So for the cannellini beans, we just pop them in the fry pan with the jus. They're tinned ones, so they're ready to go. Drained off the liquid that they were in, and I just want those to heat up nicely in the jus until the jus is thickened right up, and it's almost like a little stew that we're making out of the cannellini beans. Nice little ragu. Get another spoon out just to toss them around a bit. So that'll take a few minutes. Back to our trusty polenta. That's ready to receive the rest of the ingredients. So I've got him here. I'm going to drizzle him with a bit of our good old Rama olive oil. That'll just give another little flavour, little dimension there. Pop that back on there. I have some butter. Butter's been pre-softened. Just going to pop that in like that. Just want to get those extra flavours. And then of course the lovely gorgonzola. We just put it in small pieces so it can melt down quickly. Oh, that one jumped out, doesn't want to go in the pot. As we said, bug and cow in perfect harmony. And now cheese and polenta in perfect harmony. Yeah. Let's pick this one back up, pop him in there. So I want quite a bit of cheese in there because I want to get the flavour when I'm eating my beef cheeks with this. So we've got the butter melting down. We've got our little bit of gorgonzola in there, and as you can see, we're just going to melt that through. The colour's great. We don't want to smash it all up, you know, because we actually want a couple of the chunks of cheese left in the polenta. And see the colours changing. It's absolutely fantastic. Great smell coming out now from the polenta. You could add some chopped parsley into this. You could add some fresh oregano leaves or whatever you want. You know, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm going to pop him back on the stove for a bit. I'm going to have a little bit of a taste. Give our bean mixture over here a bit of a shake. I'll just wash my spoon. Make sure we keep the spoons clean. So we just got the polenta now. Oh, consistency spot on, absolutely spot on. I'm not going to cook that anymore. Get a light feel of the grain as we eat him. Got a couple of nice big plates that we're going to serve this in. Cameraman Code and myself are going to enjoy this one. So we just turn around the polenta a few more times, but I think that's nearly about done it. I'm going to pop over here, going to have a look at my little cheeks. My cheeks are all good. We're going to pop our thermometer in, make sure we've got a nice, and the thermometer just sinks through them. They're so beautifully cooked. Yeah, that's up, that's hot enough. So we're going to just pour a little bit more sauce over there. We've got our little bean ragu coming along nicely. We've got our polenta, we've got our cheeks, we've got our plates. We'll just clear up a little bit of this one. So here's our plates, and then we're going to do a little bit of plating of our polenta. Good. I'm going to put a little bit of dry oregano cannellini bean stew, and give him a mix because he's thickening up nicely, and that'll just add another little Italian flavour to our dish tonight. Going to turn the polenta off. I've got my cheeks ready. I'm going to leave the stew to reduce down a little bit more. Move my strap harnesses. Right, so first thing we're going to do is get that polenta into those bowls. Need a spoon. There we go. Lovely. Now, how much you want to serve and how much you want to give people, well, up to you. Check the size of the person is my recommendation. So here's the polenta, and you can see, oh, can you see that coat? I mean, the gorgonzola is just melting out of the polenta as we pop it onto the plate. You got small specks, little tiny specks of the blue veins running through the polenta. So we've got a nice portion. Been a hard day at the office today, so we're a bit hungry. I've got my little cannellini beans here. Yeah. Then we're going to drizzle the cannellini beans around the outside. Go around the outside of our soft polenta. And then we're going to put in the middle of that polenta one beautiful cheek, proud as punch, right in the center of that beautiful polenta. So we'll bring this off. Yep, so I got my tongs. Just going to lift these out. Now, these are so nicely cooked, they're just going to melt as soon as you put a knife or in it. So I'm just going to place one little cheeky on there, and then another little one just on there. Then we're going to drizzle a little bit of this beautiful jus just over the top. A little bit more just around the ragu, and then always serve extra sauce on the side for the people that want a little bit extra. And there we have a lovely little plated braised beef cheek, soft polenta, flavoured up with gorgonzola and a little cannellini bean stew. Bon appetit, enjoy that one. We'll have a look at this one. Let's cut one of these open. I've got one more in here. Let's have a look at this, how this sort of cuts. I mean, so we'll get a knife now. We'll get a spoon and a fork. Let's see what we can get out of this. So beautifully just comes away the cheek. Look at the fat in there. Just comes off nicely. Still a little bit, you know, when you eat this one, just melts in the mouth. Full of flavour. You got the beautiful flavour of the cheek going through the through the meat. Absolutely gorgeous. Beef cheek, soft polenta gorgonzola. See you soon.